investigative journalist Ben Swann, because you have a history of questioning vaccines in your work as a member of the media, right?
Yes.
So if you could talk a little bit about your experience there, because I understand you've come under, quote unquote, attack in the past for simply saying things like,
That's to say the least.
right, but for simply saying things like not all vaccines for all people.
Right.
You've never said no vaccines, right?
No,
so
never said
talk a little bit about that
And
experience.
what's fascinating about it is, yes, over the years, I was one of the first reporters to really cover and expose what that doctor was talking about, the vaccine court issue in America, because most people didn't even realize before I started reporting on it that there was such a thing as vaccine court, essentially meaning that vaccine makers are shielded from liability. You cannot sue them in this country, and there is this court system that's been set up. It's kind of a proxy court set up through Department of Health and Human Services. And what most people also don't know is that $4 billion, with a B, $4 billion has been paid out in liability to families of children who have been injured by vaccines. And yet, as a journalist, if you say not all vaccines are safe for all people at all times, that's considered lunacy, it's considered heresy, and it's considered a danger to the public, because they say, oh, you're encouraging people to not vaccinate their kids. No, you're encouraging people to understand what their children are being injected with. It's very important that people understand that our modern vaccine system, and by the way, I have 5 children and all of them have had vaccines, right? So I'm not anti-vaccine, but you have to understand that the vaccine system in America is less about medicine and it's more about business. It is a business model that has been set up to protect these particular drug makers. There's only about 4 companies that even create vaccines in this country. Every single one of those countries has had lawsuits filed against them for other drugs that were harmful to people, and yet vaccines are the only drugs they create that have no harm associated with them. It's not true.
It's interesting that those who have no problem questioning the likes of Big Pharma when it comes to other things, like something that's gaining popularity, even in the mainstream press right now, is the opioids crisis. Those people seem to have some sort of block when it comes to vaccines. That's interesting.
Well, it is interesting, and I think the reason for that is because there's been such a system set up around vaccines to protect this. Look, the bottom line is, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who I've interviewed a few times before in the past, and recently did a podcast with him, talks about this, and it's pretty interesting. He says, when you look at what's happening right now with these companies, one of the reasons we don't know, how bad vaccines might be or how good they are, we just don't know. We don't know how much they might contribute to these incredible numbers of allergies that are popping up in kids today that did not exist 30 years ago, or all the issues that we have with development issues. The reason we don't know is because they are shielded from liability, there can be no lawsuit, which means there can be no discovery. There's no process for going through discovery. And it's also important to understand, I know we're short on time, that when it comes to the issue of information, getting information, as a journalist, it's very hard to put out this information because big tech censors a lot of this. Facebook censors it. Google right now has subsidiaries that are actually creating vaccines. Google's own companies are trying to create a global flu vaccine right now. How can you trust them to give you good information on it?
It's absolutely insane, and a lot of these social media companies are literally censoring the posts of people who are just moms saying, hi, my children got this after taking this vaccine.
Because they call it a danger to the public rather than worrying about, again, all those hundreds, if not thousands of kids who have been injured by vaccines. It is a fact. It is not a conspiracy theory.
Ben Swann, thanks a lot.
Michelle, thanks.